Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Very Factual. We're your hosts, Kayla.
And Isabella, and what a match week it was in the Premier League. Chelsea got their first win under Pochettino with the 3-1 victory against Luton Town on Friday. After a frustrating first season, Raheem Sterling looked back to his old self as he bagged 2 goals, one in each half. He slipped through Luton players easily to score the opening goal and his second just after halftime. Nicholas Jackson scored his first goal for the Blues to secure the first 3 points of the season. We got to see how Caicedo fared, and he definitely bounced back from his crushing debut. He was named in the starting 11, and he ended the night with 58 out of 60 passes completed, a tackle success rate of 100%, a long ball success rate of 100%, 3 interceptions, 2 blocks, and 6 out of 10 duels won. Now everyone can see exactly why Chelsea spent so much money on him. He fit in very well with Enzo Fernandez and Gallagher in the midfield, and I can't wait to see what else he brings to the team. But we shouldn't let this win get to their heads. They played Luton Town, and Luton is most likely going to be relegated this year, and we knew that this wasn't going to be a tough one for the Blues. A Friday night at Stamford Bridge, at home against Luton. What do you expect? They were obviously going to win. I wonder how they will continue to fare against more experienced teams. During Chelsea's clash with West Ham last weekend, we saw youngster Carney Chukwuemeka come off after clashing with Emerson Palmieri. Chelsea have confirmed on Tuesday that Chukwuemeka had saw a knee injury during that game and went under surgery on Monday night and will be out for 6 weeks. Pochettino revealed in a press conference ahead of the Luton clash that Mykhailo Mudryk also sustained a not serious injury in training this week and has started rehabilitation. Kayla, do you think these injuries are a concern for Chelsea?
So, at first, when only a few players were getting injured, I thought Chelsea could pull through and find some replacements. But now that there are 9 senior players injured, it should grow some concern for the club. As of last season, they fell, and this season they are really pushing to get back on their feet. But with so many players out, it will become difficult for Chelsea to do that.
Yeah, I think I'm generally so concerned for Chelsea. All of these injuries to so many key players. You said 9 senior players sidelined. That's insane. We know Reece James, Chalobah picked up in training hamstring injuries. Christopher Nkunku and Wesley Fofana suffered preseason knee injuries. Armando Broja and Benoit Badiashile and Marcus Bettinelli are still out from last season, even though Broja and Badiashile are getting towards the end of their rehabilitation. Last season, actually, Chelsea let a bunch of the medical staff leave, and I think that really took a toll on Chelsea. They have the second worst injury record in the Premier League. 48 injuries, all players all players together missing 1,836 days in 216 games during last season. And I think you need to change the rehabilitation program if it's not working, obviously. So once again this week, Chelsea announced more signings, taking their Todd Bowley era spending over £1 billion. Thursday, they announced the signing of yet another wonder kid, David Washington from Brazilian side Santos. He signed a 7-year contract for £17.1 million. Kayla, do you think wonder signings are useful?
Well, I honestly haven't heard of him before, so it did surprise me, especially seeing how expensive he was. Chelsea needs players that can help the club now, not in the future. Some Wonderkid signings are fine, but so many from Chelsea, as they are already struggling, isn't going to benefit them as of right now.
Yeah, I have never heard of this guy before, ever, and it shocked me because I woke up in the morning, right, and I saw that they signed another so-called wonder kid, and I'm like, oh my gosh, not again, because they sign these people, and then they disappear, and you don't even see them play, and for 17.1 million, seriously, I think that's quite a bit. We have spent over £1 billion now since Todd Bowley came here, and seriously, none of these wonder kids performed. I know that they're supposed to be for the future, but like we need people now, not kids that can boost Chelsea in 6 years' time.
I agree.
On Saturday afternoon, Chelsea announced another signing of Petrovic from MLS side New England Revolution. He is also signing a 7-year contract with a club option of another year. That's 12.5 million pounds plus add-ons. And I actually personally think Chelsea needed a backup goalkeeper. So I'm not gonna like say this is a bad signing because we really needed one. Sanchez is our number one, and he's like, I'm gonna use this word. He's mid. He's not that good. Bettinelli's injured. Kepa's on loan, so yes, we need a goalkeeper because right now I think we have someone from the academy on the sidelines, and from what I've heard, he's done pretty well in MLS for the Revs. So I welcome him. He'll obviously be the number two goalkeeper, but I mean, actually, maybe not number two, maybe number three, depending on Bettinelli. In the early Saturday game, Spurs impressed once again after beating Bournemouth 2-0 at Vitality Stadium. James Maddison came back into the side after an injury scare from last game and scores first goal for Spurs in the 17th minute. Following halftime, Kulusevski scored the winning goal for Spurs, extending their unbeaten streak while Bournemouth are still looking for their first win. New signing Destiny Undogi impressed massively in the game, completing all his dribbles and drawing fouls, and impressed all over going forward. Yves Basuma also played an outstanding game after being the first player to make 20 duels and over 10 tackles this season in the Premier League. Spurs are average at least 2 goals in their opening matches this season, and Kayla, it looks like Spurs aren't missing Harry Kane, huh?
No, not as it seems.
Yeah, so they don't have a replacement striker. I mean, I'm sorry, they do have a replacement striker in Richarlison, but he always looks like the odd man out, and he always misses his crucial chances, and he never really got up to speed at Spurs. But I don't think that they'll need to sign another striker for now because Postecoglou is obviously what Postecoglou is doing is obviously working. I think when they got Madison in this summer from Leicester, it was a pretty bargain deal. I think he made the signs so much better and they play so much more attacking, and I'm really happy that um they can spread their wings and show that they don't need Harry Kane in the side and that Harry Kane doesn't defy them, and they're better players than that.
Yeah, I agree. We were saying how we thought that they would just completely crumble after Harry
Yes.
Kane leaves, but I guess we were wrong. They're still holding their ground.
I think they're better than with we saw last season. They're Spursy. They were losing games, but now they're on this winning streak. It could be because of a new coach,
It
but
could be.
we'll see how this affects them in the long run.
On the Saturday game at Arsenal's home stadium, the Gunners tied with the Cottages 2-2. Halftime was 0-1 with Fulham in the lead, Pereira scoring the first goal in the first minute because of a poor back pass from Bukayo Saka. Arteta tried to equalize the game with Kai Havertz and Odegaard coming to a close goal, but they missed. As of halftime, it looked as though Arsenal was going to have a bad afternoon, until substitute Fabio Vieira turned the game around by winning a penalty for his side after being brought down by Kenny Tete. Saka won the goal he lost by sending Fulham's goalkeeper Leno the wrong way and equalizing the game. Arsenal continued the turnaround just 2 minutes later, with once again Vieira assisting Nketiah with his goal. It looked as if that would be it with just 15 minutes left in the game, until Calvin Bassey was sent off the field with 2 yellow cards given. However, Reed's corner caused Paulinho to volley the ball into the net. It's safe to say that this stunned all people. It's safe to say that this stunned all people at the Emirates Stadium. I personally did not expect a tie, especially since 6 yellow cards were given during the game, all to Fulham players. However, that being said, you can tell Fulham really tried their hardest, off with them bringing 1 point back to the table. Isabella, I have to ask, what did you think of this game and the outcome?
So obviously this was a big scare for the Gunners, I think. I think they played a really overcomplicated game. The first goal, it was very unexpected. Like, why in the world would you back pass when there was no one there in such a congested area where they can easily run onto the ball? And Ramsdale also looked very confused where the ball was going because thought it was curling or something, and he was just like all over the place. But that's still not a reason to put David Raya in goal. Ramsdale should still be number one. Fabio Vieira, actually, I think, was their best player. He looked very promising when he came off the bench, and he was involved in both Arsenal goals. And it's quite crazy how Fulham managed to still tie the game with only 10 men. Like,
Yes.
Arsenal definitely let down because that shouldn't happen. You obviously should have the advantage. Kai Havertz, we saw him again. He looked invisible, uh, as he has. He made no impact on the game. He had obviously some opportunities, and he just couldn't execute them. He couldn't capitalize on them, and um, that's not he's not a different player than he was at Chelsea. He still looks like that same very lost, uncomfortable Chelsea player. And I think it's just a matter of time until Arteta has to take him out of the side because he's not. They can do so much better without him. And also, I don't like Thomas Partey playing the right back role. It just doesn't suit him. He is a midfielder, and I think he's used to having players behind him just for like that security. Also, in this game, the defense looked pretty sloppy, I would say. So they obviously didn't have Tomiyasu as he's out for 3 games because of a red card he saw last game. So we saw Jakub Kiwior come in this game, but even though I'm 100% Polish, he's not a starter. Not for Arsenal at least. He's more of an off the bench player, kind of in less important games. Zinchenko also came on, but was partially to blame for the Fulham equalizer. My opinion, I'm going to say it again. I think I said this in some of the other episodes. It should be Kieran Tierney in that side as a starter, but it looks like he's going to Real Sociedad on loan. But why would you let him go? He's insanely underrated, and I really wish Arteta played him like fully in like big games for 90 minutes because we saw how he performed when he was starting for Arsenal, and I really enjoyed it. He is a very strong player, and I think that's what Arsenal need right now, especially with the injury of Urian Timber.
I agree completely with what you just said. I agree with what you said with Thomas Partey, and I feel like Arsenal just wasn't prepared to play with Fulham.
No,
Fulham was really like they were really pushing to like get at least a point, and they did. Like you said, they had a sloppy defense, and they weren't. Arsenal wasn't like performing like they should have. They weren't performing their best at that game.
like especially like after the first goal, I think it probably maybe put them down a little because it was a really big mess up, but they obviously got the 2 goals and then they kind of let down because they thought, oh, we have the lead now, da da da. And then Paulinho came, scores the goal, it's a tie. And that's their first, I think, non win, I believe, because yeah, they started off the season with only wins and now it's their first tie.
Yup. Manchester United came from 2 goals behind Nottingham Forest to beating them at home stadium Old Trafford. Eric Ten Hag looked to have just ignored the defeat to Tottenham Spurs, but just 5 minutes into the game, United was down 2 goals. Awa Nui gave the visitors a lead after breaking away from a United corner, running 40 yards and scoring over Onana. To double their lead, Bowley headed for the net after Johnson's free kick, leaving Steve Cooper happy with the start of the game. Not too long after these goals, Eriksson scores for United, putting United back into the game. Soon after the second half started, Casemiro tied up the game, adding more aggression onto the field. Forest's second half went from bad to awful when Joe Worrell was sent off for pulling Bruno Fernandes down. Manchester United made a comeback with Fernandes scoring a penalty after Danilo brought Rashford down. This was a much-needed win for Manchester United after a tension-filled game. I believe United didn't perform their best at all. Forest was clearly pushing for that win, and United wasn't prepared. They underestimated Forest. However, Manchester United did end up pulling it together in the second half. During the game, I also noticed that the team did not miss Mason Mount at all and Luke Shaw, who were both out because of injuries they sustained.
Yeah, okay. So I want to like say something about the game first because especially the first half mostly because It was horrendous. Like I could not believe it. I was watching. They were sleeping the first 10 minutes. Like they were not awake. The first goal, it came off a break from, you said, a United corner. Second goal was, I think, the worst goal. Willie Boley headed the ball from a free kick, and Onana did not move at all. I was watching replay after replay. He had so much time to move, or at least, take a step, and not, he was literally standing there. He did not move, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, you can go look at the highlights. And then after that, they really woke up. And then Casemiro, he missed a header, like you said, to an open net, which was very upsetting for like a Champions League, like world class player. Like you can't miss that. You have to get it in. And I think I'm very surprised Forest lost the lead, to be honest. I mean, United only won because of a penalty. It was a penalty, yes, but like, it's a penalty. I think the first half, we were talking about Shaw and Mason Mount. You can't blame the first half for not having your players because Mount wasn't going to give you anything anyways because he hasn't gave anything to United yet, and I don't think Shaw would have been able to stop those first two goals. So I obviously I don't. They're not going to miss Mason Mount at all for like future games because he's coming back after international break, I believe. Um, and Shaw they could miss, but I think they have, a replacement that could kind of be there for a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. So, like you were saying about Shaw and Mount, in defense, Shaw definitely could have helped, but United does have skilled players that they replaced him with, and they could continue to replace him with. And Mason Mount was very easy to replace because during games he was already barely present, so his absence didn't affect the club all that much, like at all. So being absent, like you said, like it didn't really change. They can't just blame Shaw and Mount not being there. And
Yeah,
Onana did not move at all. I watched the replay.
it
I
was
guess you can
horrible.
argue. I guess you can argue that like he didn't really see with players in front of him, or like that
No,
he wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared for that. He wasn't.
no, I'm gonna be. He should have been prepared. I'm sorry, Kayla. I disagree with you, but he had so much time. The ball was going slow. I don't
True.
know why he didn't at least take a step or something. Like he stood there like this and didn't move.
No, yeah, he literally just stood there. He like moved like a centimeter to the left where the ball was going in.
No,
But
he
other
didn't
than that,
even
he just
move.
stood there. He just stood there. He
I
didn't
was
do
like,
much.
what? This is what you guys paid for? I wanted him at Chelsea. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good with Sanchez now.
Yep. So speaking of new signing of Mount, Manchester United has been wanting to sign defensive midfielder Amrabat. However, they have a chance of missing out if they don't make any moves soon. I personally believe that Manchester United won't benefit from him at all that much because they, as a team, are lacking more in offense than defense. I still believe he could help the club. However, it would be nice to see a link to a striker for Manchester United.
Well, they did sign a striker.
Well, I know, but like a backup because they need more offensive players that are strong.
They have Martial, who played. They also
Yeah, but it's like you know how
Sancho,
like City has
Anthony.
Holland, like
Yes,
every team needs like a Holland. Our team doesn't.
that's everyone says Rasmus Højlund is the next Holland, so we'll see how that goes in a few years. So now Liverpool and United are in a transfer battle because Liverpool was trying to hijack a move for Amrabat, but it looks like Amrabat himself is more keen on joining the Red Devils, which is another midfield blow for Liverpool. I didn't hear of Amrabat until during the World Cup when he and Morocco went on an incredible run. I would say he was Morocco's most important player during that World Cup. He really anchored the side with his organization on the ball and retention. And he's an incredible passer of the ball. And he creates so many opportunities for his current club, Fiorentina, and country Morocco. And if he was to join Man United, I think you said that he wouldn't be really like a. Did you say?
No, I think he would like benefit a lot. I feel like he would do great in United. I was just saying how like I feel like they need more offense players than defense.
I think it actually would be very good for United because they need a defensive midfielder. They don't like Casemiro is really the only one, and we see how much they rely on him. And Casemiro, I think he's let's see, 30. I think he's like in his like early 30s, and they rely on him a lot. So I think they need kind of like another player who can be in there. And also, Amrabat knows Eric Ten Hag because he played under him at another team, which I'm not going to try to pronounce because I have no idea how to pronounce it. So I think since he knows Ten Hag, like we saw Ten Hag bring in Lisandro Martinez. We saw him bring in Tyro Malacia. So I think since he knows the coach already, I think he'll be able to fit to the squad well.
So speaking of managers, Manchester City's coach Pep Guardiola will miss Manchester City's next month of games due to surgery. Him not being on the sidelines doesn't affect the club all that much. Sure, they will miss him, but Manchester City has amazing staff and world-class players that help them to keep them going. Their performance should not be affected because of Pep Guardiola's absence. Even Bernardo Silva, who has been at Manchester City, said the same thing.
I really feel like the media is exaggerating. Like they're saying like, "Oh, Pep Guardiola, oh," but they say he's out till next month, but he's really only missing 2 games, and one of them was today, so only one more. And they have world-class staff. They have trainers. Their team is so structured that they know what they're doing, and I don't think it'll impact City in any way at all. Yes, training will be different because obviously you don't have your manager that you see every single day, but in games it's really up to the players. And Pep Guardiola is gonna be involved in some kind of way. He's always gonna be talking to his team members. He's gonna probably be on like speed dial during the games. He knows what he's doing, even if it's from a hospital bed.
He can always like put his input in. He can tell his
Yeah.
assistant that he left in charge. And
Yeah.
always, you know. So speaking of City's world-class players, they have a new addition. Belgian right winger Jeremy Doku has signed a 5-year contract for £64 million. He's a versatile player, and he has amazing speed. You can see him developing so much as he ages. Because of his speed and skills, that's like a huge advantage for City because he's unpredictable for the other team's defenders. Like they're constantly on him because he's getting better as I said as he ages. So, hold on.
Yeah, I think he's an exciting player. He has the pace, and I think he's what the City need right now.
Yeah, and obviously he can help Haaland up top. And Doku says that he can only get better under Pep Guardiola's management.
Definitely.
And I honestly couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, everyone flourishes under Pep. Like he is best manager in the world. Maybe best manager ever. Maybe. I mean, Sir Alex maybe still ahead, but yeah, are you done? Sorry, I could like cut you off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No.
He's a very exciting young winger, and like I said, he's what City need. They lost Mahrez, and that direct missed a play. If you know what I mean. Pep said last season that he wants more ball retention from his wingers, and that's what Doku brings. He scored only 6 goals and had 2 assists in 29 appearances for Rennes, which is his former club now, actually. And he's usually missing that end product, but I know Pep can take him under his wing and kind of bring that finishing aspect out of him. And as he gets older, you see more output from him, and defenders struggle to keep up with him. He's incredible on the ball. He's a very raw player. He's versatile. He uses both feet so he can play on either side. He has pace, which will be perfect for Haaland's runs. He played the last few minutes of Belgium's game against Croatia in the World Cup, which was also the one where sadly Belgium got knocked out. But the fans wanted to see Doku because he's you said unpredictable player. He gets at the defense, and like I said earlier, he'll flourish under Pep. He'll become world renowned because that's what happens when you play under Pep Guardiola. And I'm very, very excited to see what he brings. But sadly, we didn't get to see him play against Sheffield today.
No, we didn't. But as of the rest of City's team, Bernardo Silva extended his contract to stay under Pep Guardiola, because who wouldn't want to stay under Pep, until 2026. Clearly, City values him as a player to keep him for another season after already having him for 6 years. But I can see that Silva does love playing with City and constantly grows there.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited that Bernardo signed a new contract, even if it's like a 1 year extension. I think he is an incredible player. He is a player that is one in a million. Um, he was very close to going to Barcelona and PSG. I think more Barcelona because I know he was linked. I think once last season, maybe the season before, and this season. But Barcelona couldn't get him because of their finances, and he's such a Pep style player and so important for them. He's always where he needs to be. He has amazing passing, so versatile, and I cannot emphasize that enough. He can play midfield, on the wing, striker, false nine, and he's so smart, intuitive, and intelligent. He's the orchestrator for City, and I'm so glad he's staying. He's a one in a million player, even if it's for another year.
Mm-hmm. City definitely deserves him as a player, as they've had him for
Definitely.
6 years. He's a great player. He fits in with City really well.
Yes.
Another City player, John Stones, is out until September because of a minor hip injury. This may impact City in some ways because of how crucial he has become last season. He
Mm-hmm.
had also just started playing midfield, which could benefit not just City, but also the England team. He's said to miss the Euro qualifier against Ukraine, but hopefully Southgate can find a replacement on time. Manchester City is full of world-class players, so although it sucks he cannot play for some time, I'm sure Guardiola can find someone to replace him.
Yeah, obviously it is sad because of how crucial Stones is, like how he was for City last season. And you said playing in midfield, and thankfully the September international break is not that far away because it could have been way worse. Like we saw Urian Timber out for the whole season with an ACL injury. I think City only play Sheffield and Fulham before the break, which is not like threatening really. I don't think they're not playing like a big top six team, but it could impact England in a way in their Euro qualifiers, playing against Ukraine, and they have a very anticipated friendly against Scotland. And Stones is always in Southgate's plans, like Kyle Walker, Stones. I know Calvin Phillips is in his plans a lot. Like I think those are like his main player. I mean Harry Maguire also. Oh, forgot.
Oh, I forgot about him.
But I don't think it'll impact City because we saw they won today, but I think it'll more impact England.
I agree with that completely. And one more player in City that is leaving is Laporte. He left the English club Manchester City to play with Saudi League club Al Nassr. I can understand why he left City since he didn't play much last season, but since he is still relatively young, he could have gone to another European team and built his skills and name rather than going to what I consider as a retirement league. Honestly, I think he just went for the money because he's an exceptionally young player.
Yeah, I think I kind of understand this one, but then again, I don't because I'm very against Saudi Arabia usually. But he didn't really play this past season, and he went even farther down the pecking order as Guardiola arrived this summer. But come on, he's 29 years old, which I consider young. I mean, 36, 37 is where you kind of start like downgrading. But I understand if you wanted to leave City because obviously if you don't play, you want to go somewhere where you're going to play. But I heard that there wasn't a lot of top teams that wanted him like in Europe, but he probably could have found a team.
Yeah,
Like mid-table La Liga team, they would love to have him.
yeah, like I was gonna say, I feel like La Liga and like those middle leagues would definitely love to have him since he is a great player. It's just he doesn't play a lot for a city, and since usually the Saudi leagues, like I said, are like more of a retirement league because you get a
Yeah.
lot of money. Like I feel like he should have more ended his career there than transferred so early in the beginning.
Yeah, I think he's an exceptional player, and I always enjoyed watching his and Diaz's partnership together. But I know he had an injury, and after that injury, he never really looked the same. So I understand, if you wanted to leave, but obviously, like you said, this is for the money. Because why else would you go when you're still young and could still so easily be playing top flight football? Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, come on, stop with the money. You
Yeah.
can go later, like 35, 36. You'll get so much money. You'll probably be good for the rest of your life. But right now, there's no, I mean, there's probably more competition now because they got so many players, but, it's Europe.
Yeah, I feel like since if he just like stayed for a little bit longer, built his name more and then moved, it would have just been much better for him, like even as a person and everything.
He did build his name up because everyone knows who he is, but like just like playing like top tier, like
Yeah.
Champions League. That's all you need. You don't have to go to Saudi Arabia.
No. So speaking of Sheffield earlier, Manchester City played them with a late win, scoring a goal in the 85th minute to break a tie. As you know, City was there without Pep Guardiola, who left his assistant Lilo in charge. Soon in the game, a penalty was awarded to City because Egan's arm outstretched and stopped a cross. Haaland was up to take the penalty and missed, hitting the post. However, Haaland earned that goal back from a cross given by Jack Grealish, putting City in the lead. Later, City's Kyle Walker attempted a back heel in his own area, which then he lost possession, and Jayden Bogle equalized the game. With just 5 minutes remaining, it looked as though it would end in a tie, and City would lose their winning streak. But Walker fixed his error from earlier and kept the ball wide, just to cut it back for Rodri and put City in the lead once again. City is the only team left in the league with a 100% record after 3 games. Seeing them regain the goal they lost and Haaland and Walker basically making up for the I can definitely say with confidence that Manchester City will win the Premier League. They have the drive and motivation. Like even in this game against Sheffield United, they were so close to only bringing 1 point to the table, but they continued to push and score their last goal with just 5 minutes with just minutes to spare. They like I have to say Sheffield did play better than I expected. They were constantly aggressive and never gave up. I underestimated Sheffield for sure for this game, but clearly no one at least yet is a match for Manchester City.
Yeah, I think they have composure. I think that's the biggest thing with them. And I think Sheffield did better than what I thought they would. Like, against Burnley, they beat them 3-0, and I think Burnley won the championship last season. So I think Sheffield did pretty good to like hold out the treble winners, but I think City's still going to win the league.
Yep. A lot of people had Sheffield as a relegated team. And honestly, now that I have seen them play, I think that they'll be close to relegation, but I don't think that they'll be out
I think they
year.
still will. I think this was just a lucky game.
Maybe. You never know. They were really pushing though during that whole game to at least keep it
No,
a tie.
yeah. What a dramatic win for Liverpool on Sunday against Newcastle as the Reds pulled off a stoppage time win with 10 men. Anthony Gordon opened the scoring for Newcastle in the 25th minute due to an error by Trent Alexander-Arnold, who miscontrolled a pass from Salah. 3 minutes after, Liverpool were reduced to 10 men, with Virgil van Dijk getting a red card after tackling Alexander Isak. Darwin Nunez came on in the 77th minute, subbing off Alexis McAllister, who got his red card overturned from last week's game. Darwin Nunez, I personally think, and I think everyone thinks, he was the game changer in this game. He scored 2 goals, winning the match for Liverpool, and we also did get to see new midfield signing Wataru Endo start, and he did look like he did all this match. Newcastle actually did look to have much of the upper hand in this game with all the stats lying in their favor, and it kind of just proves that no matter you have to finish your chances. I think that's really what matters. On Tuesday, Newcastle announced the signing of Chelsea youngster Lewis Hall. He will join Newcastle on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy at the end for 28 million if he lives up to Newcastle's performance-related criteria. He's a very versatile player, and he has so much potential because he is so young. He's capable of playing many different positions, such as on the wing, left back, left wing back, central midfield. And as a Chelsea fan, personally, it's always sad to see a player leave, especially if it's a homegrown player, because he he could have played for Chelsea in the future, but obviously with this Todd Bowley era, he's bringing in so many players and he's not using the youngsters. So like, yeah, go. He needs to play. He's young. I'm pretty sure he's 18 years old, and I think he will do well because of Eddie Howe is such an exceptional manager, and he manages young players so well. And I think he's probably one of my favorite managers in the Premier League, maybe after Pep Guardiola. But he knows how to manage these young players, and I have no doubt that he'll flourish. Shocking news for Liverpool fans this week, as it looks like Mohamed Salah is looking for a move out of Anfield, and guess where he wants to go? Of course, Saudi Arabia. Al Ittihad is ready to sign the Egypt international and pay him, get this, even more than Ronaldo earns. He will be the highest paid player, I'm pretty sure in the world I saw. Thankfully for the Reds, Jurgen Klopp said in his press conference on Friday that they have not received an offer for him, and even if they got one, they would immediately say no. Kayla, if he was to leave, do you think Liverpool would be able to replace Salah easily?
Honestly, I had to really think about this because he has been so crucial to Liverpool over the years. But he is getting older now, and Liverpool has other forwards they can train and replace him with. I feel they shouldn't let Salah go for a good amount until it's like a good amount of money. Which, as you said, though, he's gonna get like more than Ronaldo, so seems like a pretty good amount of money. But he is very crucial to Liverpool, so allowing him to leave should be worth the price.
I think, I am very much against players going to Saudi Arabia, especially if they are like young. I understand if they're older, but like for the right price, let him go. I think it was 191 million pounds is what Al Ittihad wanted to pay, and sure, I mean, Salah has obviously been so crucial for Liverpool the last couple years. You said 31 now. He's not old, but he is getting there. They have four other forward players who can replace and fit into his role. They have Gakpo, Diaz, Nunez, and I bet you there's young players coming up too. And I think, um, you know, I would only let him go for 191 million or more. And you could get a pretty decent forward for that price, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, 115 million is what Chelsea paid for Caicedo. Imagine what you can get for 191 million. He only has 2 years left in his contract, and if they do want him now, then they have to pay the price, nothing less, no negotiating. It has to be the exact price or over. And I hope he doesn't go, like overall, but and I know all Liverpool fans probably don't want him to go because he's been so influential and he's, I would say, Liverpool legend material. Um, he probably won't go this window because it's closing. I think August 30th was it? I sent or September 1st, August
Yeah.
30th because it's getting close. And but if they manage to get a bid in Al Ittihad for the right price, then why not? But Klopp said that they won't let him go either way. So
Yeah, like you said, like I don't know if I really want him to go
yeah,
because he is Liverpool legend material. He could be. But like you also said, like if with the right price, they should let him go because he is also starting to get a little. He's not old, but he's getting older.
and I think you can get a really good player for that amount of money.
Yep, and train them and like underneath
You
Klopp. I
can
feel like
you
he
can
could.
even get like a super experienced player. Like I'm not saying this is gonna happen. I'm just showing this out. Like they could sign Holland probably. I'm
With
not
the
I'm not
money and
saying he
everything.
is. I'm not saying he is. He's not obviously, but like you can get that quality of a player.
Yeah.
And hopefully he doesn't go. More games in the Premier League this weekend included Brentford versus Crystal Palace at the GTEC Community Stadium. Kevin Schade scored in the 18th minute, and Joachim Andersen equalized for Crystal Palace in the 76th minute. Everton continued their losing streak this season as they lost to Wolves 0-1 with Sasa Kalajic scoring in the 87th minute. A surprising game this weekend, Brighton versus West Ham. West Ham won this game 3-1 at Brighton's home stadium. James Ward-Prowse scored in the 19th minute. Jared Bowen scored in the 58th minute. Mikel Antonio scored in the 68th minute. And Pascal Grobe scored in the 81st minute. I think this game, it was very surprising. Just a quick note. I think West Ham only had 19% possession this whole game, and they still beat Brighton, who have been incredible for the last 2 seasons. And I think it proves that possession doesn't matter. It's your chances
I
that you
agree.
make.
I agree. Oh, sorry.
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say that with only what was it, 19% possession?
Yeah,
Yeah, and they
19.
still won. Like possession isn't everything in a game, and I feel like that's a common
It's
misconception.
your
People,
chances. You
yeah,
have
it's your
to
chance.
finish your chances. And towards the end, especially when Pascal Grobe scored, Brighton were pushing. Like, oh my gosh, Ariola made some crazy saves then, and it could have been close, but West Ham were top of the league for a little bit until Man City played on Sunday. Another game this weekend was Burnley versus Villa. It ended in the same scoreline, 1-3, with Villa winning. Matty Cash scored a brace in the 8th and 20th minute, and Lyle Foster scored in the 47th minute for Burnley, and Moussa Diaby scored his second goal for Villa in the 61st minute.
So that's it for today, everyone. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Very Factual Podcast.